Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. From the proofs of the Quran, we now come to proofs from Hadith, because I mentioned earlier that sources like the Encyclopedia Britannica and others are saying there is no authentic Hadith about the Mahdi. Bukhari is the first source, and I'll come to Bukhari in a minute, or in a few minutes, but after Bukhari it's Muslim. Sahih Muslim clearly mentions references to the Mahdi, and it also mentions that when Jesus, peace be on him, returns, the Mahdi will offer him to lead prayers, but he will refuse, and he will insist that the Mahdi should lead the Muslims and all in prayer, and he will pray behind him. When you pray behind an Imam, or whoever leads the prayer, you acknowledge the superiority of the person you are following, that he knows more than you, or he is more capable of leading over you. Then there are all the other sources, for those of you who may be familiar with the Sihah Sitta and other authentic sources in the Sunni world, Sunan Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, and so on. They all, in fact, Ibn Majah and Sunan Abu Dawood, they specifically mention a hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he said, Al-Mahdi min itrati min wuldi Fatima. The Mahdi is from my family, from the descendants of Fatima. It is very, very clear, even where his lineage and genealogy comes from. Then you have Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal is the founder of one of the four madhahib, one of the four schools of jurisprudence in the Sunni world, the Hanbali school. He has a famous work and collection of hadith that is known as the Musnad ibn Hanbal. He has 136 reports and traditions, riwayat and ahadith on the Mahdi that have been printed separately as a book, which I have and would be happy to share with anyone who wants to take a look at it. And there are many, many other Sunni scholars. I can't list all of them. Many of them are Shafi'i, and they have written books, not Imam Shafi'i, but they are followers of Shafi'i. Like, for example, Al-Kanji al-Shafi'i, a 7th century scholar, has a book, Al-Bayan fi Akhbar Sahib al-Zaman, a complete collection on hadith. Al-Maqdisi al-Salami al-Shafi'i has a book, a famous book called Iqd al-Durar, quite sizable, only proving the existence of the Mahdi. Essentially, from Sunni perspective, you have at least 35 prominent Sunni scholars who have written 46 books exclusively on the Mahdi, not mentioning him in their works, but an entire book just to prove the belief in the Mahdi. There is a famous scholar and theologian in the Sunni world called Ash-Shawkani. Ash-Shawkani says the traditions on the Mahdi are so many, from so many different sources, that they have reached a level of tawatur. Tawatur is a term that is used by experts of hadith. A hadith is called mutawatir when it is repeated numerous times from different chains of narrators, so that it is beyond any possibility of doubt. And he says the narrations on the Mahdi has reached tawatur. It is impossible to doubt on it. Most of the traditions that you will find from Sunni sources will say that the Prophet said, even if one day is left for this world, Allah will stretch the day to such an extent until a man from my descendants return and he fills the earth with peace and justice as it is filled with injustice and iniquity. But to explain now Bukhari, I mentioned earlier that sources saying that the most authentic source of hadith, Bukhari, does not mention the Mahdi. That also is a lie. But there is an attempt to revise history, to change, to those who study hadith, they know that you have to also be careful when you read Bukhari and Muslim, because the versions of Bukhari and Muslim that are being printed in Saudi Arabia now, a lot of them are being edited. Traditions are being removed, they're being changed, parts are being removed with ... And there are other Sunni scholars who are trying to actually defend these original sources. You can even find some of them giving lectures expressing this concern on YouTube even, right? And I give you one example only. In Bukhari, volume 4, hadith number 658, there is a tradition from Abu Huraira who narrates from the Prophet, peace be on his family. And I'll read for you very quickly the Arabic and the meaning, and then I will read for you the translation by a scholar from Saudi Arabia. And I want you to see how he changes the translation completely just to hide the concept of the Mahdi. The original hadith in Arabic says, كيف أنتم إذا نزل ابن مريم فيكم وإمامكم منكم. How shall it be, the Prophet says, how shall it be for you when the son of Mary, meaning Jesus, when the son of Maryam descends amongst you, but the Imam shall be from amongst you? This is the Arabic. كيف أنتم إذا نزل ابن مريم فيكم وإمامكم فيكم, but your Imam is from you. This scholar is called Muhammad Mohsin Khan, and he is from Saudi Arabia. He translates this hadith. He says, how will it be for you when the son of Maryam descends amongst you, and he will judge people by the laws of the Quran and not by the laws of the Gospel and the Injil? He has taken the word وَإِمَامُكُمْ فِيكُمْ, but the Imam shall be amongst you, and he has translated it as, but he will judge according to the laws of the Quran and not according to the laws of Injil. There is absolutely, you just need like rudimentary Arabic to see that this is a gross misinterpretation and translation, intentionally, so that just to prove that Bukhari does not mention the Mahdi. Okay? There is a body called the Muslim World League, and in 1976 they issued a fatwa in Mecca. And it's a lengthy fatwa. In the interest of time, I can't read the whole thing, but you're welcome to take a look at it after the majlis. But the conclusion of that fatwa says that because of the numerous mutawatir and sahih hadith on the Mahdi, there is no doubt in the status of these reports concerning the Mahdi. And this fatwa by the Sunni scholars in Mecca in 1976 said, it is obligatory, wajib, to believe in the concept of the Mahdi, and it is one of the beliefs of the Ahle Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and only those ignorant of the Sunnah and those who are innovators, the Ahlul Bid'ah, will deny it. It is that strong. It is so strong, ironically, that Ibn Taymiyyah, who is seen as the inspiration and the founder to the Wahhabi movement, he in his book Minhaj al-Sunnah acknowledges that the ahadith on the Mahdi are authentic. Now, I want to very quickly now just give some logical proofs and then make a conclusion. We have talked about hadith, we have talked about Quran. Can we argue now, because these hadith and Quran have only proved that the concept and the belief of the Mahdi is valid in Islam?